Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be giving you guys my outlook on the Washington football team's safety room. Who do I think is going to make it? Who do I think is going to get cut? Some possible surprise cuts, and how many safeties I think they will keep, and some possible positional changes. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. So let's get right into the video. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. I think the Washington football team's safety room is much improved from last year, especially at the start of last season, because at the start of last season, we kept 4 safeties: Cameron Curl, Landon Collins, DeShazier Everett, and Troy Apke. But Troy Apke was our starting free safety, and Landon Collins was our starting strong safety. Later on, Cameron Curl was our starting strong safety, and, Jeremy Reeves and DeShazier Everett both played free safety, but we added a couple of players. We added Bobby McCain from the Dolphins. We drafted Derek Forrest, and, Landon Collins should be coming back. So I think this safety room is much improved from last year. And let's go player by player, talk about them and, their chances of making the roster. First off, Cameron Curl, he is our best safety in my opinion. Surprised a lot of people last year. Was a 7th round pick, and he had 84 tackles, total tackles, 2 sacks, and 3 interceptions and a touchdown. But remember, he really only started to get significant playing time. He only started to start at strong safety after Landon Collins went down during the Cowboys game, and he really started to improve as the season went on. He started off the season at that big nickel position, but then after Landon Collins went down, he was our starting strong safety for the rest of the season, played really well, and I really hope the Washington football team sticks with him as strong safety, even if Landon Collins comes back, and we'll talk about that once we go to Landon Collins. But I have big expectations for Cameron Curl this year because, again, he did all of what he did last year as a 7th round pick without having really any offseason besides a limited training camp. So let's see what he can do, with a full offseason and, knowing he's going to be a significant contributor. I cannot wait to see what he can do. I think he's going to have a big year this year, and is going to help out our defense a ton, and is going to, benefit from playing behind our front 7. So the next guy that we'll talk about, Landon Collins, and one of the most interesting players at the safety position, because he did say he's going to be ready for week 1, but I mean, he tore or ruptured his Achilles at the end of October. Usually those are 1 year plus injuries, and who knows, football is a little bit different than basketball. Maybe he can come back a little bit early, but I'm not too sure he's going to be fully ready for week 1. But even if he is, I don't think he's going to be our starting strong safety, and I hope he isn't. I think he'll, rotate at a bunch of different spots. I think he'll play a little bit at that big nickel spot where Cameron Curl played a little bit, and I think maybe him and Cameron Curl will switch a little bit. Maybe Cameron Curl will switch to big nickel for a few plays in the game, get Landon Collins at strong safety. And I think, Jack Del Rio will be creative and, not necessarily play Landon Collins at linebacker, but, there will be probably some times where he's playing in the box, kind of like a linebacker. Jack Del Rio talked about this in his interview with, Julie Donaldson. So I think it's going to be interesting to see him this year. Still think he's going to make the roster just because he is on the books for a lot of money. Maybe if a team wants to trade for him, that's a possibility because, we'll save some cap with that. But I think, Landon Collins will play this year out. And unless he's an absolute stud, I think this will be his last year in Washington, and we can save a bunch of money moving on from him. But we'll see. I'm not going to write him off just yet. He, last year struggled the first few games, especially tackling, which he, was good at, especially in 2018, 2019. Did get 1 interception against the Cardinals, but he also got burnt a bunch. So let's see what he can do this year if he is fully healthy and ready to go. So those are, that's going to be an interesting, competition, Landon Collins versus Cameron Curl. But I think Cameron Curl will win it out and be our starting strong safety. So the next guy that I will talk about is Bobby McCain. And this is another guy that is very interesting because he can play free safety, but he can also play, a nickel. So, or in the slot as a cornerback. So, I think Bobby McCain, we got him for super cheap. He's a great leader, and he's been playing pretty well in minicamp. He caught 2 picks on the last day of minicamp, one off of Heineke and one off of Fitzpatrick, I think. And, he has a chance to be our starting free safety alongside Cameron Curl. He's going to have to compete with a bunch of other guys, and Reeves, DeShazer Everett, and others, but he has a lot of experience. He's a good leader, and I think he's going to help out this team a ton. Not a ball hawk, but he has had 7 interceptions in his career, so I do think he will make an impact, and I think he will make this team, barring an injury, I think he's going to make this team and could allow them to keep more safeties and less corners because he's a mix of both. He could be listed as a safety but also be a possible corner if they do need some help there, if someone's hurt or something like that. So the next guy that I'm going to be talking about, Derek Forrest. So he is a player that I think possibly could surprise some people. He's definitely going to make the roster, 5th round pick this year. Going to be a contributor on special teams for the Washington football team. Played at Cincinnati for 4 years and played all over the field. I mean, he played free safety, strong safety, and some other, positions in the secondary. I do believe he played a little bit of corner at some point, but mostly played both safety positions. Junior year had over 100 tackles and 3 interceptions. This past season had 40 tackles and 2 interceptions. And in less games, in 9 total games. But I think he's definitely going to make this roster. He's going to start off as a, big special teams contributor, but I would not be surprised if, whether it's the beginning of the season or, later on in the season, if he starts to get some snaps at either free safety or strong safety. I'm not really sure yet. But he definitely has some upside, and he seems like a really bright kid, really smart guy. So I'm excited to see what he can do. He might not get some snaps right away because he's going to be playing behind Cameron Curl, some other guys, Bobby McCain, DeShazer Everett. But I think he has a chance to be a solid starter as a safety, but he'll make his impact on special teams right away. And, that's what you want out of a 5th round pick, at least initially, and let's see what he can do beyond that. So the next guy, Jeremy Reeves, and this is a really tough one to, talk about, like, is he going to make the roster or not? I really, really like Jeremy Reeves. He was the 5th highest graded safety in the NFL last year. It was a limited, sample size, but he still played really well at that free safety position. I really liked what he did after DeShazer Everett went down, and he was the starting free safety, and he definitely has a shot to make this roster. He's going to be competing with DeShazer Everett to make this roster because I don't think they will keep 6 safeties. They kept 4 last year. I think they will keep 5 this year. So I think Cameron Curl, Bobby McCain, Derek Forrest will all make it. Landon Collins, more likely than not, will make it. But here's the thing. If he is not fully ready when the season starts, they can put him on the PUP list and they will be able to keep Jeremy Reeves and DeShazer Everett. So if Landon Collins starts off the year on the PUP list, I think, both of those guys will make it. But Jeremy Reeves has a chance to be our starting, free safety. And I think Rivera really, really likes him because he grinded his way up from the practice squad to the active roster. And I do think Rivera really likes guys like that, including Cam Sims. So I think Jeremy Reeves, definitely has a good chance of making this roster. It just depends on what happens with Landon Collins and how the competition is looking with DeShazer Everett. And DeShazer Everett, he was, ahead of Jeremy Reeves on the depth chart, and he was the starting free safety when They decided to bench Troy Apke. And real quick on Troy Apke, no chance of making this team as a safety. That's why they switched him over to corner. And even then, he doesn't have a great chance to make this roster. Still has a chance, but not a great chance. We'll talk about that in the cornerback video. But Deshazor Everett, really got his first chance this past season to, get significant playing time at safety. Unfortunate he got hurt, but a lot of these games he set the tone with his physical ability. 30 tackles, 4 passes defended. Played pretty well in his time as a starter. Really good tackler. Had a forced fumble this past season. We'll see if he makes the roster. I think he will. If I had to predict, I think he will. But I would not be surprised if Derek Forrest is looking very, very good in training camp, because he's looked good in minicamp. If he looks good in training camp and in the preseason, I would not be extremely surprised if they did move on from Deshazor Everett. And here's why. They're very similar players, because Derek Forrest, great guy on special teams, good locker room guy, can play both free safety and strong safety positions. Same thing, pretty much. Same exact thing with Deshazor Everett. So if Derek Forrest is looking super good and ahead of schedule, maybe they move on from Deshazor Everett, but I do think he will end up making this roster. As more time goes by, I really think Landon Collins might start the year on the PUP list. We'll see if he doesn't, though. If he starts the year 100%, it's going to be an interesting battle, at least in my opinion, between Jeremy Reeves and Deshazor Everett for that last safety spot, unless they decide to keep 6. And if they do that, then all these guys, of course, will make the roster. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about this competition. Subscribe if you guys are new. Hit that like button. Turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. And yeah, let me know safeties you think will make it and how many safeties you think will make it. Peace.